Hello all, hope you're all doing well. We are continuing with our weekly portion review. And this week we are in the portion of Ki Tavo, right? When you come to the land, right? This is a big dramatic national moment. This is the entry of the Israelites into the promised land of Israel. And Moses is really this is commandments happening as they're crossing the Jordan, right? That the people have to assemble at the famous mountain of Gerizim and the mountain of Aval. And there's going to be a proclamation of the blessings and the curses, and there's an affirmation of the covenants, and making sure that this is not only from heaven, but it's also rooted in the soil of the land itself. And this is very interesting because it's really echoing and also contrasting actually with an earlier covenant, which is the revelation of Mount Sinai. Now, at Sinai, as we all know, the Torah is coming down from above, right? There's thunder and there's lightning, and it's really, you can't even approach the mountain. And at Gerizim and at Eval, in this portion, the people actually stand upon the mountain itself. And it's the Levites that are calling from within the nation. And then the Torah, in that sense, is rising up from the earth, right? And just to stress this, at Sinai, God's voice is really bursting through, and it's overwhelming the people of Israel. And they're trembling, and they can't even touch the mountain, right? And it's that Torah is really entering the human soul through awe and fear, right? This is, and as our sages teach us, there's also a sense, a level of compulsion as well. Now, what's interesting is that our sages in the Talmud mention that the Torah was actually given before its time, right? Humanity wasn't really actually, we weren't ripe for the Torah to be harmonized yet with its inner nature. And the rabbis also explain that the giving of the Torah couldn't wait, though, right? Without it, humanity would have underwent like unbearable suffering, and even though it was too early, we still had to make sure that we would be able to survive. And so the Torah comes early, but when it comes early, it needs to be closed with thunder and fire because it's a completely different wattage than what we're ready for and what we could handle in Israel, in the land at that time. But in our portion here, we see actually a different model, right? The people are now not trembling, right? And they're not at the base of the mountain, like we mentioned, right? We're elevated to the top of the mountain itself. And like we said, the divine word is not coming through thunder or from God, and we have to ask Moses to be like an intermediary. Rather, it's the voices of the Levites calling out the blessing and the curses themselves. And here, it's not descending from above, like we said, but it's emerging from the life of the nation in its land, right? Finally, there's like a proper orientation. And this is really what signals that in the land of Israel, the Torah is not imposed on man. It's actually lived from within, right? This is what I speak about often, which is now that we're back in our land, this is where we're actually going to be able to experience and express the actual Torah, right? The Talmud, with all its greatness, is still a band-aid of the exile, right? That's not really the proper expression in the land. And it's really the flowing of holiness in the land of Israel and the soil itself, which is what man is trusting his natural ability to hear the divine voice echoing from within the land, from within the depths themselves. And that's why the Torah has like a double origin, right? A double source. It has Sinai and it has from earth on Gerizim and Neval. Now, Rabbi Cook, which we mention often, he explains that there's actually two different types of holiness. There's a transcendent holiness, right? And this is the one that battles against nature and calling us to rise above it. And then there's also the holiness of nature itself, which is, this was really suppressed in exile, but now it's actually emerging with a redemptive power. Initially, it was too difficult for us to deal with the temptation of holiness through nature, and so we decided to just skip over it and deal with the Torah. But now we have to deal with this holiness of nature itself. And it really animates even secular life in Israel and the desire to be, quote unquote, a normal democracy, or we want to have this natural vitality like other people. That's because we're trying to connect to that level of holiness. And it's not always known as the source, but it is holy nonetheless. And it's the ultimate vision is really to reconcile between two of these things, to have heaven and earth, Sinai and Gerizim, awe and this natural trust. Each has to learn from the other until both are actually revealed as one divine Torah. And this vision really speaks urgently to us in Israel today. Right, there is a divide between Jewish and democratic, between the religious and the secular, and it's reflecting the same tension, right? Which is Torah from heaven versus Torah from earth. And I would say one side is fearing coercion, right? That we're going to be forced to participate in something that seems foreign to us, and the others, right? I would say the religious is fearing that there'll be a collapse of what they've built over all this time, this exoskeleton of holiness that they put together. But the Torah itself already showed us that there is a way, right? Sinai was necessary to establish this awe, but Gerizim was necessary to root the Torah in the human life and in the soil. And we have to do two of these things together. And Israel won't survive if we only speak with one voice and if we're trying to silence the other, right? Holiness has to prevail, and it's not through one-sided victory, but it's through actual union. And the holiness of heaven has to sanctify the holiness of earth. And the holiness of earth has to enrich the holiness of heaven from below. And only then will Israel actually fulfill its destiny, and nation where heaven and earth meet in harmony. I wish us all we find this balance. Shabbat Shalom.